NXT No Mercy has officially just wrapped up, and man, oh man, tonight's show was a very amazing show. Some can argue that this show arguably could have been better than Bash in Berlin from yesterday, but but you guys let me know your opinions down below. This is my official preview of every match on the card. Let's jump straight into it. Start off with the the NXT Tag Team Champions between Chase U versus Nathan Axiom. This was another banger of a match. Nathan Axiom and Chase U just know how to put banger matches. Their chemistry in the ring is just fantastic. Like, I don't know how they do it, but man, the amount of matches they have pulled, they did the same thing at NXT Heatwave. They had another banger there. No different than NXT No Mercy. This was another banger of a match, and with a shocking surprise, Nathan Axiom are now your new NXT Tag Team Champions. I did not expect them to have Chase U lose this early, but given the circumstances, it's understandable. After the match, you ended up getting Ridge Holland turning on Chase U. He was, pretending like, like he was trying to cheer up Chase U. Then he ends up attacking not Ridge Holland. He ends up attacking Duke Hudson and Riley Osborne. Then attack Andre Chase. Constantly attacking Andre Chase. Thea Hell is crying because she actually looked up to Ridge Holland. She was one of Ridge Holland's main supporters. Then he ended up going to the announce table, hitting a DDT on Andre Chase, injuring him. So that's going to be a story they're going to play up. He's going to be out for a couple of weeks. I like this. Now, I thought this would eventually happen. I didn't think it would happen this early. I thought they would win, a couple of title defenses, then Duke and Ridge would then one of them would turn on each other. I thought they would play that story. I didn't think they would play the story now. I'm interested in the story. I'm interested to see why he turned heel, because from a story perspective, it makes sense why he turned on Duke and Riley, because Duke and Riley was constantly giving him a hard time. So that makes sense. Andre, it's a little different because Andre always accepted Ridge Holland. So that will be interesting to see what's his reasoning for turning on Andre. And Andre did take the pin, so that could play a factor into it as well. But I'm excited for this because Chase U did need something new. They did need something new to make them a little bit more entertaining. So I do like this overall. And I'm excited for Nathan Axiom because I love them as a tag team. I didn't want them to lose in the first place, but I understood why they lost. It made sense. So, but I love this match. Was an absolute banger. You guys should absolutely watch it if you haven't. This match was an absolute banger. But Nathan Axiom is now your new WWE NXT Tag Team Champions. The second match of the night was Wesley versus Zach Wentz. This was another banger of a match that I already knew was going to be great, but man, this match absolutely delivered on everything. This was great. They told a great in-ring story. This was absolutely amazing. This was very fast-paced, very high-flying. This was amazing. This was really, really great. We get towards the end of the match. Well, actually, it was a 6 spot. Well, actually, this leads to the end of the match, actually. It was a spot where Wesley ended up doing a super kick towards the announce table. Zach ended up landing on it, but the table ended up collapsing as he landed on it, which I thought was hilarious. Then he goes in the ring and ends up doing, goes to the top rope and ends up doing basically a stomp all the way from the top rope all the way to the outside onto Zach. Then he ends up putting him in between the ring posts. He puts his head towards like in between the ring posts, goes for a chair, tries to hit not Zach. Yeah, he ends up trying to hit Zach with the chair, but then out of nowhere, Trey ends up taking away the chair, stopping Wesley from bashing his head. They get back on the wing. Zach ends up recovering, taking advantage, ends up hitting, I forgot what the finisher was called. I totally forgot what the finisher. The finisher was dope as hell. I forgot what the finisher called. You guys let me know down in the comment section. But he ends up hitting his finisher for the 1, 2, 3 and picking up the victory. This was great. This was amazing. I love the story they told. I love Trey involvement. I honestly should have put that in my predictions. I totally forgot Trey involvement in the match could have played a factor. And I also forgot that I'm so used to seeing Zach and the Rascals and Joe Hendry on NXT that I be thinking that they're NXT wrestlers, forgetting that they're both from TNA. I should have predicted that one of the TNA members was going to win the match. I should have predicted that. But this was great. This was amazing. Also, with the involvement of Trey, you have Wesley, of course, is going to win his revenge because even though Zach won, you could also make the argument that he only won due to, what the interference. But if Wesley would have hit the chair, it would have been disqualification. So it makes sense. But overall, this was a fantastic match. I can't wait for what's next for this story because this story is clearly not over. I can't wait to see what's next. And next week, the Rascals called out Nathan Axiom for the NXT Tag Team title. So I don't know if they're going to get a tag match. If they do, most likely Wesley will probably interfere to cost Zach the match to get another rematch eventually. Now, we got the low point of the show. I'm not going to speak too much on this match. It's Kelani Jordan versus Wendy Choo for the NXT North American Women's Championship. This match was just not it. It just wasn't it. The crowd was dead for it. Every other match, the crowd was lit for it. But this match, the crowd was dead. The in-ring work wasn't terrible. It wasn't bad, but it was just all right. Wendy Choo was just doing, she wasn't doing anything major that really popped. Kalani was doing her typical moves, but overall, this match was just whatever. Kalani ended up picking up the victory. After the match, though, Tatum Paxley ended up choking out Wendy Choo after the match, so it looks like they're going to have a feud, which is interesting. Halloween Havoc is coming up, so I don't know if they're going to build towards that. I'm going to be honest here. In my NXT Battleground video after the show, I ended up saying that Kalani Jordan has the most to gain from winning an NXT North American Championship. It's been 2 months since her reign, and I think it's time. Look, I like Kalani as an in-ring wrestler, but from a character, it's just not connecting. It's not hitting. I think it's time. Now, you could say it's a bit too early. I think at Halloween Havoc, you need to have her lose. I think it's time. I think you need to have her lose. I don't think Kalani needs a 4 to 5 month reign. I really don't. Especially with what happens later on the show. I think we need to, I wouldn't say hot potato the championship, but we don't need a super long title reign with each champion with the North American Championship. I think it could hot potato a bit. When I say a bit, I mean like have someone hold it for like a 3 to 4 month and then someone else new depending on the champion. But I think it's time for Kalani to lose because it's just not hitting. For me personally, you guys let me know how you feel about Kalani Jordan's title reign, but for me, it's just not hitting. It's just not connected. But this match was just whatever. But yeah, I don't have nothing else to say, but Kalani retains and is still your NXT North American Women's Champion. Now we get the NXT North American Championship match between Tony D'Angelo and Oba Femi. This was also a really good match. They played a decent, well, I wouldn't say a decent story, but they played a solid story. Oba, it was weird. Oba was basically the babyface in this match. There were moments where Tony D'Angelo was getting booed, but he also was getting cheered. Later in the match, Oba Femi started attacking the family. He started attacking Luca Crucifino. He attacked Channing Stacks. Earlier in the match, Tony D'Angelo was dominating Oba Femi. Like it was looking, they was trying to make it look like, Oba Femi was eventually going to lose. We do get towards the end though. Oba Femi does end up being too much for Tony D'Angelo. He ended up hitting 2 power bombs to finish the deal. This was overall a really good match. I don't know how they would continue this rivalry. Maybe this was just a one and done. But overall, this was a really good match. I really enjoyed this match overall. I can't wait to see what's next for Oba because he doesn't have many challengers to face for that championship. So I don't know what they're going to do, but they got to figure out something because he don't have many challengers that can really face him, to be honest. But overall, I've been loving his reign. He needs to continue on his dominant reign, but you guys let me know your opinion. Now we got Roxanne Perez versus Jada Parker for the NXT Women's Championship. This match was really good. I really enjoyed this match. I thought this match was great. Really enjoyed it. Earlier in the match, they was playing a rib injury towards Jada Parker. She was having a rib injury, so Roxanne Perez, being the slimy heel that she is, she constantly attacked the ribs all throughout the entirety of the match. This led to making Jada Parker being the overcoming, against all the odds, baby faces constantly making comebacks with battling the injury. Throughout the match, Roxanne's constantly attacking the injury, but Jada Parker constantly got to overcome the injury. Towards the end of the match, we get a moment where Jada Parker ends up hitting the Hypnotic. She finally hits her finishing move. She's been trying to hit all match. Then they go to the outside because the Hypnotic ends up tossing Roxanne towards the outside. Roxanne is towards the barricade. Jada Parker tries to hit the Hypnotic through the barricade, but Roxanne moves out the way, so Jada Parker ends up going through. Then Roxanne Perez soon after ends up hitting a Pop Rocks on the outside on like the barricade padded area, on like the pad that's like through the barricade basically. She ends up hitting the Pop Rocks on that. Then both women are on the ground, exhausted, tired. The ref is counting to 10. They get to 9. Both wrestlers finally get in the ring. That's when Roxanne Perez takes advantage. Then she ends up hitting another Pop Rocks for the victory. This is overall great. But what ended up happening after the match? After the match, Roxanne Perez is celebrating her victory. And then out of nowhere, the lights cut off. Goes towards the entrance ramp. All this smoke and fog. Then the theme music is playing. And all of us already know it's either between 2 people. Comes out and it's revealed to be Julia to come out. She ends up going all the way towards the ring, and Roxanne and Julia ends up having a stare down. That was great. That was amazing. I was hoping for Stephanie Valkyrie, but it makes sense for her to be Julia. I am glad that Julia made her debut, made her appearance, because I like Roxanne Perez. I've been loving her title reign, but it's time. It's time for her to lose it. It's time to, elevate someone else. She doesn't have much to really do in NXT, so this is great. I can't wait for their match. Most likely it's going to be Halloween Havoc. It makes no sense to have it no other place, but man, I can't wait to see what Julia does. I even popped for it. I don't even know anything about Julia. I just hear things about it. I haven't even watched the match or anything. Like, even I popped. I can't wait to see how that match plays out, because the things I hear from Julia is amazing, and I think Roxanne Perez is amazing in the ring, so I can't wait to see how that match plays out. But man, I can't wait to see what happens next on NXT next week, because man, that should be very entertaining. But Roxanne Perez ends up retaining, still is your NXT Women's Champion. Now we got the main event between Joe Hendry versus Ethan Page for the NXT Championship, with Trick Williams as your special guest referee. This match actually was pretty solid. I think this was also a really good match with the shenanigans of Trick Williams. To be fair, Trick Williams, for the most part, was a very fair referee. Ethan Page constantly wanting Trick Williams to, abuse his power a bit when it benefited him, wanting him to get a 10 count, a fast 10 count when Joe Hendry is outside, wanting him to count, do the pinfall a little bit faster. This was overall a really good match. They were telling the story of Will Trick called the match fair, and he ends up calling it fair for the most part. We start getting towards the end of the match, okay? Joe Hendry ends up hitting his choke slam, goes for the pin, but Ethan Page's foot is underneath the ropes, which causes a rope break. Joe Hendry gets distracted because he thinks that, it should have been counted, but it's a rope break. Then Ethan Page ends up taking advantage. But as he's taking advantage, he accidentally ends up knocking out Trick Williams in the process. He ends up hitting a choke slam, goes for the pin. Another ref immediately comes in the ring, goes for the count. Joe Hendry ends up kicking out of the pinfall. Then Joe Hendry ends up going to the outside. He ends up grabbing his NXT championship. Goes outside, goes for the NXT championship. Joe Hendry and Ethan Page goes back and forth, but Ethan Page ends up hitting a DDT on Joe Hendry onto the championship. He goes for the pin. The ref is about to count 3, but then Trick Williams ends up stopping the pin because Ethan Page ends up attacking Trick Williams. Then they go back and forth. Ethan Page is frustrated because he's about to win. Ethan Page tries to attack Trick, but he ends up accidentally hitting the referee. Then this ends up leading, if I'm not mistaken, this led to Trick Williams being distracted because the ref ended up getting knocked out. So Trick Williams is distracted. Joe Hendry and Ethan are fighting, but then Ethan Page ends up hitting a low blow onto Joe Hendry, which ends up allowing him to pick up the victory. He ends up doing his finisher, of course, afterwards. He ends up hitting his finishing move, which led to the pin. Trick Williams didn't want to count the 3 count. He was counting it slow, but he ends up counting that 3 count. After the match, Ethan Page is wanting Trick Williams to acknowledge him, to raise his hand. Trick doesn't want to do it, but he ends up doing it. After that, Trick Williams goes outside the ring, and then Pete Dunne ends up attacking Trick Williams, continuing their feud. So I was right about Pete Dunne making an appearance. I was just wrong on how he makes his appearance. But overall, this was a really amazing show. Every match delivered outside of the Kalani and Wendy Choo match, but this overall pay-per-view was amazing. I think personally this pay-per-view was better than Bash, even though I thought Bash was a really good show, but I think this match clears Bash in every way. But overall, this was an amazing pay-per-view. You guys let me know your opinions down below. I can't wait to see what's next for NXT. I can't wait to see what's going to happen on the next show, but you guys let me know your opinions down below. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. But yeah, that's it.